Mind-baffling unsolved mysteries. Ark of the Covenant. The location of the Ark of the Covenant is perhaps one of the greatest religious mysteries. You probably know it best from the Indiana Jones movie, but for some, the Ark of the Covenant is all too real. Biblical accounts say that it was a large gilded case made of wood made to house the stone tablets where the Ten Commandments were written. It was described as a large chest that must be carried by at least 2 people, and it had 2 large golden angels, so it would have been hard to miss. Not only would it have been a valuable object on its own, but the Ark is also linked to several miracles. This handsome object was the work of the Israelites, who crafted it approximately 3,000 years ago. The Ark was carried toward the Promised Land, and in the Old Testament it is said to have cleared poisonous animals from their path and even stopped the flow of the Jordan River so the people could cross. The Ark was paraded around Jericho with trumpets for 7 days, and later placed in the legendary Temple of Jerusalem. However, it disappeared after the Babylonians overthrew the Israelites in 597 and 586 BC. Since then, it hasn't been seen again, although naturally people have ideas about where the precious container may have gone. One of the strongest claims is that before Jerusalem was sacked, the Ark had been sent to Ethiopia and hidden in the St. Mary of Zion Cathedral. The only person allowed to see it is the appropriately named guardian of the Ark. It is such a holy object that a mere human cannot look at such a holy object without suffering the consequences. Other churches and temples around the world claim to possess the Ark, but none have been tested for authenticity because that would be inappropriate. Ron Wyatt, an amateur archaeologist and Seventh-day Adventist, claimed he found the Ark buried under the place where Jesus was rumored to have been crucified. He led an excavation in Jerusalem and found a network of caves where he said he found the Ark, but that divine interference prevented his pictures from showing up. When he returned to the site, he saw angels who told him that it was not yet time for the world to see the Ark. Of course, many professional archaeologists dismiss Wyatt, as he also claimed to have found Noah's Ark, his anchor, his tomb, the Tower of Babel, and the blood of Jesus himself among 100 other biblical discoveries. So far the Ark of the Covenant is still lost. Copper Scroll treasure. One of the most intriguing archaeological finds of all time were the Dead Sea Scrolls, ancient manuscripts found in caves near the Dead Sea. The scrolls are now small bits of parchment with text, but they are enormously significant because they are some of the oldest biblical manuscripts ever found. The odd thing is one scroll that stood out in particular because it is made of copper. The style, language and medium are so different that scholars believe it must have been placed there at a different time than the rest of the scrolls. It couldn't be unrolled, so it was authorized to have it cut into strips and then pieced back together. Instead of being a religious text, it was a list. It gives the details of 64 locations where you'll supposedly find a mega valuable collection of treasure. The copper scroll has been referred to as an ancient inventory, and so far no one has been able to find the silver, gold and other materials referred to on this unusual metallic document. Several researchers have attempted to go to the locations and requested permission from the Israeli government to go with a metal detector, but so far, requests have been denied. No one knows where the treasure lies, but that's not to say it won't be discovered any day now. Dance of Death. You've heard of dance fever? Well, in Strasbourg 1518 you'd be hitting the dance floor whether you wanted to or not. As strange as it may sound, for 3 months the French town found itself in the grip of an affliction whereby people started dancing uncontrollably. In some cases till demise. The first recorded case was a lady named Frau Trophia, who busted some moves for 6 days straight. Before long lots of people had joined her, albeit involuntarily, in a groovy yet disturbing way. It's easy to make jokes about this, but can you imagine what it would have been like? And it was especially horrible for those with heart conditions because they just couldn't stop until they literally dropped. In an effort to control the situation, the town proposed a solution to build a stage complete with musicians in the hope that people would get the dancing disease out of their system. But what caused this strange occurrence? Local physicians blamed it on hot blood and may have just been caused by mass hysteria, or a hysterical reaction against authority. People at the time were dealing with disease, famine, all kinds of stress. Or they could have been members of a religious cult. But one of the most interesting hypotheses is that the people may have accidentally eaten ergot, a hallucinogenic mold that forms on damp rye. Ergot may have also been responsible for the hysteria and odd behavior during the Salem witch trials. Other dancing plagues popped up in other places in Europe in the 16th century, so it was not an isolated incident. But it remains a mystery for sure. Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Gardening is a surprisingly competitive activity, with people vying to see who can create the most beautiful flowers, the most spectacular fountain, you know what I mean. Of course, if you were cultivating a garden back around 575 BCE in the area where Baghdad is now, you'd have the ultimate competition in the form of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. These mighty gardens were planted by Nebuchadnezzar II, who ruled over the legendary capital city of Babylon. The gardens were described as a paradise, with exotic plants and terraces creating a place of greenery and tranquility in the middle of a desert. Nebuchadnezzar's power and influence spread to the extent that he seized control of Jerusalem. The Hanging Gardens were one of his crowning achievements. It was said he built them for his wife so that she would feel more at home, but many historians doubt if this magnificent wonder of the world ever existed at all. There are records of gardens existing in Nineveh and Mesopotamia from before the time of Nebuchadnezzar, and maybe ancient historians got their places confused. Scholars do agree though that if these gardens had existed they would have been probably near one of the royal palaces and would definitely have qualified as one of the 7 wonders of the world.